Byron York anti-Trump fever takes threatening turn. Editors note the opinions in this article are the author's, as published by our content partner, and do not necessarily represent the views of MSN or Microsoft. The toxicity of the resistance to President Trump has risen in recent days, with the nation's most respected newspapers publishing rationalizations for denying Trump supporters public accommodation and for doxing career federal employees, while a journalist found himself under physical attack from the so-called anti-fascist group Antifa, which has stepped up its violent activities since Trump's election. The justification for denying public accommodation came from the Washington Post and by Stephanie Wilkinson, the owner of a farm-to-table restaurant in Lexington, Virginia. Wilkinson later told the press she ejected Sanders because the Trump administration is inhumane. In her new article, Wilkinson discussed the case of the Aviary, a trendy bar in Chicago where a waitress recently spat on Eric Trump, the president's son. Wilkinson wrote that Wilkinson noted that the apology for doxing came from the New York Times and by Kate Cronin-Furman, an assistant professor of human rights at University College London. The article focused. Cronin-Furman discussed the detentions, as well as actions by employees of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, in terms of the Holocaust and genocides in Cambodia and Rwanda. Those of such workers would be dismayed at being publicly shamed because they are sensitive. Needless to say, that was a clear argument for doxing. Finally, there was Antifa's recent on Andy Ngo, a freelance journalist often associated with the pro-free thought cultural publication Quillette. At a demonstration, the president is not always at the center of such demonstrations, but Antifa has become an angry and violent fringe force in the resistance. It has played an ugly, shunning, shaming, doxing, attacking. As the 2020
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park,